there have been some, I would call them the culture wars. I'll talk about the culture wars a little more broadly, but transgender issues, transgender athletes, critical race theory. These are all things that I think there is a big segment of the Republican Party that believes that if messaged correctly, those are winning issues. Do you believe that those are winning battles for the Republican Party that they should be focused on ahead of 2024?
Well, I don't think I think they think those are winning issues in a primary, but they're not necessarily winning issues in a general election. Now, there are some nuance in all those. Let's take the critical race theory issue, right? Like, um, guess what? Slavery happened, right? Jim Crow happened. Racism happens, right? My parents could not live in any neighborhood in San Antonio, Texas in the 70s. And the neighborhood we ultimately lived in was did not have the best schools. Now, guess what? I turned out okay, right? Because I had a loving family and great brother and sister and awesome friends and a community, right? But I didn't have the opportunity to go to the best schools because of legacies of racism, right? But the way you teach racism and Jim Crow and slavery is by not putting a bunch of fifth graders and segregating them based on their hair color or their eye color. That don't make no common sense, right? Like the way you can talk about it, right? And you shouldn't, don't send those kids home with a piece of paper that says, rate whether you have how privileged you are, right? Like that's not how you do that, right? And guess what? But education is important. We should make sure that we're preparing our kids for jobs that don't exist today, right? Our kids are not staying. We're not giving them the tools to stay up to speed with their peers in other nations, right? Like that's a scary trend. We're still dealing with the aftermath of school shutdowns post COVID and the impact that it had on learning. Look, I'm a proud product of Texas public schools, but I also believe in school choice. And here in Texas, there's been a 20-year longitudinal study on school choice that shows Black and brown communities have eliminated the achievement gap between their white peers in school. That's why you have a lot of Democrats, Latinos, and Blacks that are supportive of school choice in Texas. So education, for sure, is a winning message. But let's talk about making sure our kids are ready. Look, y'all are in Seattle, right? Like, the amount of tech companies that are there. The technological change that we're going to see in the next 40 years will make the last 40 years look insignificant. Everybody's talking about AI and generative AI and the impact that's going to have. That's going to have tectonic impact on jobs. We need to make sure our kids are ready for that. So that is 100% a winning issue. Cinderella and Mickey Mouse, they're not going to be on a ballot, so I don't know why we're fighting with them. And we shouldn't be trying to force or use government to punish companies for using their First Amendment rights to be supportive of something that the government doesn't believe in. So look. Also, you talk about the transgender issue, right? Yes, like in elite sports, somebody who was born as a male probably shouldn't compete with women, but transgender kids in high school, most of them are probably not even drinking liquids during the day because they don't want to have to go to the bathroom, right? We should be able to figure out how these kids can use the teacher's lounge to use the restroom, right? So like we should be able to come up with common sense solutions to these things, and we should be making sure that we don't discriminate against anybody. And by the way, we should be open to everyone, right? So to me, there's an opportunity in all those issues if we're focusing on that right issue where people are like, they want common sense.